Jason, AA Company has had a slight cultural direction in terms of going from a cattle company to a meat company. How's that going to work?
The major shift for the company has been it's a real transformation of the business from being a historical or traditional pastoral company to being a company more focused on the whole supply chain. So when we're talking about shifting from being a cattle company to being a beef company, it's really focusing on the end customer and the end market and aligning our business on a high quality customer basis. So looking at lining each part of our business up on a full supply chain so that we're focusing and making decisions on producing the highest quality product we can for customers to both domestic and in export markets.
We've heard recently sort of a fairly big push here and then Toowoomba last week in terms of towards China. Mm-hmm. And in between the small print, there's some challenges and some tricks within the whole thing. But obviously, having more control of the supply chain gives you better control of things like food security and things like that.
Yeah, so as far as the attractiveness of the China market to us and our type of products to China, there's quite a good fit when you see the growth in that market, but China's quite a small percentage of our business. We've grown our business to China in the last couple of years, but it's still less than 10% of our sales. And the thing that's more important to us than the country that we're going to is the customer. So we're very focused on developing a bank of high quality importers and distributors that can handle a high quality branded product and distribute that to high-end consumers through high-end restaurants and hotels. And there are some of those customers in China, and as we heard yesterday with David Thomas's talk about the development of that that high end of the market in China is happening very rapidly, and that's encouraging for a company like us. But our focus is definitely on the type of customer, and historically there haven't been many of those customers in China, but there's certainly an increasing number of them now.
And apparently they're fairly concerned about food security.
They really are concerned about food security and food safety and traceability and prepared to pay for a premium product. I think we've got to be very conscious of what we can actually deliver. And when you talk about a country like China wanting food security, Australia can't solve that problem because we actually don't have enough product to do that. But what we do have is a product which we can label and brand as Australian and as individual companies, but also then promote the traceability and the ability to provide them with a wholesome, safe, traceable, branded product which we should be able to capture a premium for in that market.
So somebody termed it the delicatessen of Asia.
Yeah, it's probably one way to put it, the delicatessen of Asia, but the other way to think about it is the same type of customer that you would find in other traditional high-value markets exists in China. It's just a smaller number of them. And rather than looking at it as a market of more than 1 billion people, we should be looking at it as a market which has a very rapidly developing high-end customer base. So the investment in hotels and restaurants and premium, and their focus on premium and exclusive products is where the big opportunity exists for Australia.
Given AA Company's position in the market and obviously its size and its capacity, and then the lesser relevance of Australia as a nation and the size that we can support, is there advantage maybe in joining with other producers on the Aussie brand? So you could say your brand with an Aussie and vegan and your particular brand underneath it as a way of getting into the market?
Yeah, I think how we position the Australian brand and the individual company brand is very important. For a company like AACO, we see there's a lot of value and benefit in our own brand, but we also see there's value in the brand Australia as well. So from our point of view, we probably have a head brand which is more AACO focused, and then a sub brand which is the brand Australia. But we also think there's a significant opportunity for us to band together with other producers or suppliers to make sure that we're capturing as much value for Australian product as we can. The demand for Australian product globally is significant, and there's certainly more opportunity for us to be selling more Australian product to more people rather than competing with individual customers to have them buy Australian product from one or another supplier from here. So we think that there's a lot of opportunity for all of us in the global meat market at the moment.
Jason, the Darwin abattoir, is that going to sort of lessen the live export, or is it a parallel program?
No, the plant we're building in Darwin is very complementary to live export, so it's focused on manufacturing product, largely cows and out-of-spec cattle. So the development of the live export trade, or the strengthening of the live export trade, is a positive for the plant that we're building up there, and certainly it'll be a complementary market. It won't be an alternative market to the current live export trade. It's a different type of cattle.
One of the questions that a lot of people have asked around the industry is, what the hell are you going to do in the wet season, and where are you going to get your staff, and what are you going to do with your staff if you're not using them? How have you attacked that?
Yeah, we're getting a lot of questions about logistics and staff and transport, and largely they're being asked by people who actually aren't there, probably haven't been there, and certainly haven't been there recently. The development of the territory around logistics and managing transport and livestock is significantly different now to what it was 20 or 30 years ago. And if you think about the live export trade as a for instance, the ability to actually load ships at any time of year is quite significant. So there's an opportunity, if there's an opportunity exists to load a live export ship, they can do it any time of the year, because the infrastructure is much better than what it has been historically. So the road network is actually quite acceptable, and we have no concern about not being able to operate in the wet season. Most of our staff are actually locals. We've got a core group of skilled staff which have come from, some from Australia, but others from New Zealand, but they're all local residents or locals, and most of the new staff are actually locals, which we'll be training.
The presentation that Twiggy Forrest presented yesterday by video, I thought was quite brilliant, and a great heart in the way and the passion he's putting into the industry. I guess there'd be a lot of merit in being seen to be part of Twiggy's team in marketing.
Potentially. I think our focus is a little bit broader, maybe than the starting point, particularly of the China plan, and I think it's great to have a champion for a market like that, and particularly the experience that the Mindero Group's got in China on the resources side, and I think those contacts will be very useful for developing that market, and we certainly have an interest in seeing that market keep developing. But our interest certainly is much broader than that. We currently go to 27 countries, and the China piece is a smaller percentage of our sales at the minute, but certainly always enthusiastic about people who are prepared to commit to promoting the industry.
His actual attitude towards animal welfare sort of is going to pull a lot of heartstrings in the marketing sense, is it not?
I think it's important when we look at things like animal welfare and food safety that we've got to be careful that we don't use them for marketing, or use them as a marketing tool at the expense of using them as a good practice activity as well. And if we start using things like animal welfare or food safety too heavily as a marketing tool, you run the risk of a challenge from an integrity point of view. And I think things like animal welfare and food safety need to be absolute givens. We've got to communicate with people what we do and make sure they understand our commitment to them and combat any of the negative view around those sort of issues. But I think it's very important that we have a range of things that we do just as part of business, and it's just a normal course of things that we do.
Jason, what would be your message to the feedlotting industry in the next 4 or 5 years?
I think in the next 4 or 5 years there's going to be significant demand for high quality Australian product, and the feedlot industry is a very essential part of being able to do that consistently from a product output point of view, but also consistently for managing our environmental variation in Australia as well. And from an Australian agricultural company point of view, we're very committed to growing our feedlot capacity, and also the number of cattle that we actually finish through feedlots, because we know that we can manage our turn-off. We can certainly maximise the performance of our cattle and more consistently meet our customers' requirements for high quality Australian beef.